Hey, welcome to What's on the Turntable. It's a little bit of a different format today, so thank you for joining. I wrote a little something over the last couple of days, and so I'm going to read it, and then we will go on to the music. So here we go. The album Last Splash by the Breeders is a force of music to be reckoned with, especially since the origin story of this album, which went platinum in 1994, is fraught with underhanded attempts to sabotage and destroy the credibility and raw talent of the band's founding member, Kim Deal. Despite smear campaigns, theft of money, theft of title, and recognition, and despite being the recipient of hostile attempts to publicly humiliate her and set her up to fail, Kim Deal conjured the biggest backfire in indie rock music history when her band's second album, Last Splash, was recorded in record time, catapulted to popularity in just a few short months, and less than a year after it hit the shelves, went platinum. Last Splash is a perfect example of being in the right zeitgeist at the right time, as it embodied the raw energy and girl rock sound that was trending and taking the world by angry, angsty Generation X storm in the late 1980s and 1990s. Every Sunday, I drop a set of songs from various artists on something called What's on the Turntable, which you can find on our Substack page. So if you're not following us over there, you can find the link to it below in the description of this video. I don't typically record intro videos to the playlists I create every Sunday, and nor do I typically focus on just one album. But today I felt led to mix things up a bit. Instead of focusing on random songs from various artists, today's pick focuses on one album, and that album is Last Splash, and the band is The Breeders. I chose this album because there's no other example of how betrayal, humiliation rituals, smear campaigns, constant abuse, and an attempt to destroy an artist backfired in record time, alchemizing the malignancy hurled at an innocent woman after her uncanny ability to refine it into platinum. The industry was left stunned, and we all were witness to something that no one had ever seen before and probably hasn't seen since. What Kim Deal, the founding member of the Breeders, endured during her time as a founding member of the band The Pixies is unheard of in today's world, but it was what she produced as a result of this campaign of abuse that is even more remarkable. Kim Deal and her twin sister Kelly had been writing songs for at least a decade before Kim left her home state of Ohio and moved to Boston to form the band The Pixies in 1986 with Frank Black, Joey Santiago, and David Lovering. 3 years later, the Breeders were formed in 1989, and the two most formidable band founders are girl rock legends Kim Deal herself of the Pixies and Tanya Donnelly of Throwing Muses. When Kim's sister Kelly joined the band, it was a virtual dream team. Not bad for a backup plan when in the middle of an abusive relationship called the Pixies. In January of 1993, Frank Black, the lead vocalist and lead guitarist of the Pixies, announced on a live BBC 5 radio interview show without any warning to networks, radio stations, fans, or even his own band members, he was shutting down the band. While Black was giving this legendary, shocking interview in January of 1993, Kim Deal was in a recording studio in San Francisco working on music. A fax came in, and it simply read that Black had disbanded the band, the Pixies. When Deal received the fax, the shock of it jolted through her body, but rather than spend her energy confronting Black, she channeled this betrayal and her anger into the song Cannonball. This is why to this day, Cannonball hits everyone who listens to it like a punch to the gut. 8 months later, in August of 1993, the Breeders' second album, Last Splash, hit the shelves, and less than a year after that, in June of 1994, the album went platinum. You have to understand what Deal endured prior to her band's album going platinum. Most articles and Google feedback will tell you that Deal and Black suffered from creative differences when working together as the Pixies. In some cases, even Santiago of the Pixies said that Deal was obstinate and difficult to work with. This is far from the truth. Long before Me Too and Girl Power, Kim Deal was forced to work with and play alongside with one of the most narcissistic, abusive frontmen in the music industry. Although Frank Black had a magnetism and talent in his own right, he was pure, unfiltered hubris and ego. He refused to acknowledge that Deal was a founding partner of the Pixies, not some random chick he picked up to play bass. She traveled from Ohio to Boston for the sole purpose of joining the band. The band had never even played any live gigs at that point when she showed up to audition. But during their rise to stardom and popularity, Black never gave her the respect nor the title that she deserved. Black used tactics like isolation, humiliation rituals, smear campaigns, and even assault to attempt to undermine Deal, destroy her credibility, ruin her reputation, and chip away at her talent and drive. During one concert in Stuttgart, Germany, Black threw a guitar at Deal. When she announced that she wouldn't be playing the next concert in Frankfurt, he threatened to fire her. So Deal was forced to play for fans just moments after Black had committed assault with a guitar. Which these days, if the same had happened, it would have immediately canceled the show and landed Black in jail. Another example of Black's attempt to make Deal look incapable while on stage is a classic gaslighting technique. Eventually, it became common knowledge that Black would announce the set list to the rest of the band, but would give Deal a different set list so that she was always playing the opening songs to the wrong music. He set her up like this on numerous occasions to make her look stupid or inept and attempted to humiliate her in front of audiences at sold-out Pixies shows. After the Pixies' iconic hit Gigantic took the world by storm and everyone ate, slept, and dreamt Deal's vocals, the band was interviewed numerous times. Legend has it that when the music journalist would turn to Deal to talk to her about her unique vocal stylings or her musical aspirations, Black would simply get up and walk away. It was well known in the industry that Black took such a huge hit on his gigantic ego that after the hit song Gigantic took the world by storm, he shut Deal out of all creative input, as if he had the right to do so in the first place. His utter contempt for Deal being equal and quite possibly more talented than him was palpable. He despised every second he had to work with her, and I imagine because she was more talented than him. Fans have asked repeatedly, if Black was so contemptuous of her, why did she stay, and why didn't he just fire her outright and replace her? The answer to that can only be summed up with, he must have had a personality disorder. Because narcissists need a supply. Rumor has it that any time she threatened to quit, he would threaten to sue her. I imagine he refused to let her go because he needed her around to keep her small and stomp out her sense of self-worth in order to make himself look good. The media attention Deal was receiving was too much for Black, which is what led to the impromptu, stunning announcement that he was dissolving their band, the Pixies. Again, this would never fly by today's standards. Black did not have unilateral power to dissolve or even control the creative endeavors of the band. But he was such a bully that it was difficult to push against his imaginary power grabs. This classic example of shock and awe, a tried and true trait of sociopaths I've heard, is an example of a man cutting off his nose to spite his face just because he felt threatened by a more talented band member. You have to understand the Pixies were not winding down in popularity when he made the announcement in 1993 to dissolve the band. The albums were flying off the shelves, every show they performed was sold out, and you couldn't go anywhere without seeing some random person or two wearing a Pixies t-shirt. The band was at the height of popularity when he made his surprise announcement. Like many people who are consumed by ego, Frank Black preferred to blow up his own life rather than watch someone else surpass him or even collaborate with him for his benefit. What Black wanted was to control Deal, not work with her in a collaborative space. What he wanted was to keep her small and dependent on him. But when he saw her backup plan, her band, the Breeders, he got nervous. So his last-ditch effort to undermine her and destroy her from within was to kill her main line of financial support, the Pixies. This is beyond just narcissism. This is pure vindictiveness. A contemptible act to interrupt someone's financial stability, not to mention creative outlet, without thinking it through. Because Black never really recovered from this choice he made to destroy Kim Deal. Although he went on to produce solo albums, he never experienced the same kind of popularity and feverish rise in the industry as he had experienced with the Pixies. But imagine his fury when the very person he tried to destroy from within, the very person over whom he ultimately destroyed himself, transformed his betrayal into production magic. Last Splash was the album she was working on when she received that legendary fateful facts that her founding partner of the Pixies had blown up the band. And in the sweetest twist of irony, Last Splash was an overnight smash. It went platinum in less than a year and became one of the most iconic albums in girl rock history. If you'd like to listen to it now, I've linked it in the description of this video, or you can head on over to Substack. Thanks for joining today.
You can help us continue our work by becoming a patron at patreon.com/bookofhours, or leave us a one-time donation at paypal.me/bookofhours. Or you can use Cash App. Thank you.